Here's the review for Spiral 4. First off, we got a graded section. This is evaluate functions. And we've got to find some different things. The video part is going to be to find m of 3. That means I'm going to take a look at the equation that is m and plug in 3. So m of 3 is going to equal 2 times 3 plus 5. 6 plus 5 is 11. Next part, find all values for b of x is equal to 2. b of x is graphed below. That means the height is equal to 2. And if I look at my graph, height equals 2. Those are these places here. That's going to be at x equals 5.5, which is here, and at x equals negative 2. The next up, we've got place the volume in increasing order. So I've got to find each of these things. M of 1 is going to be 2 times 1 plus 5, so that's 7. K of 2, that's going to be 2 squared is 4 minus 1 is 3. I've got to find W of 7. That's in here. That's going to be 2. And then we've got to find B of negative 1, which means the height of the graph at negative 1. And at negative 1, this has a height of positive 1. Putting these in order, it's going to be the reverse of what we got here, where B of negative 1, and then W of 7, K of 2, and then M of 1. Next up, we got some characteristics of graphs. I'm not going to do the domain and range for you this time, but I will talk about something that's both positive and increasing. Positive means above the x-axis, and increasing means that we're going up and to the right. The only place that I see that fits both of those characteristics, something that's both above the x-axis and increasing, is this guy right here. I'm going to write this as interval notation. That looks like we're at about 1.75. No, sorry, 1.5, because that's 1. That's halfway between 1 and 2. So that's 1.5, and we're going to a max value of 5.5. Both of these are x values, and that's my interval. In looking at this, I need to make sure I'm doing x and x for my two values. The absolute maximum of b of x, it's going to be the absolute highest place in the graph, which is up here. So that's my absolute max. And that's going to be at x equals negative 3, y equals 3. Into our feedback sections, we're going to be doing some combining of functions, using the same set of functions we've had for the last 2 pages, and we're going to start with m minus k of 2. What this really means is m of 2 minus k of 2. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can write bigger. M of 2 is going to be 2 times 2 plus 5, and k of 2 is going to be 2 squared minus 1. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 5 is 9. 2 squared is 4 minus 1 is going to be 3. We get 6 as a final answer. WB of negative 1 means W of negative 1 times B of negative 1. W of negative 1 is going to be 0, and B of negative 1, we're going to go over where negative 1 is. This has a height of 1. 0 times 1 is going to be 0. I'll jump over to 12 next. This was an issue on the last spiral, so I wanted to give us a couple extra videos here. This means find m inverse of x. I'm going to start off with y is equal to 2x plus 5. I have to switch my x and y, so x equals 2y plus 5, and I've got to get y by itself. I'm going to minus 5 to both sides, so x minus 5 is equal to 2y, and then divide by 2 to finally get x minus 5 over 2 is equal to y. That's for m inverse. For k inverse, I'm going to start off with my second step just so I can save a little room. That's going to be x is equal to y squared minus 1. I'm going to add 1 to both sides, so we get x plus 1 is equal to y squared. And to get rid of a squared, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So the square root of x plus 1 is equal to y. There's a little bit more to this than just that, but we'll go from there. And finally, for w inverse, that's my table. We know that we just build a table where the x and y values are switched. So if we've got x and w inverse of x, my table is going to be 0, negative 1, and then 5, 2, and then 7, 5, and then 2, 7. And that's it. For the next one, w inverse of 5, which is also video, what that's really asking for is to look for the height of 5 and tell me the input. And that's going to be 2. I could also use the table I just made, and 5 has an output of 2 in my inverse table. Alright, and then finally, we've got 3w of 5 minus 2w inverse of 5. We happen to just do w inverse of 5, so that'll be nice. W of 5 is going to be 7. And w inverse of 5 we said was 2. 3 times 7 is going to be 21. Minus 4 is going to be 17. Finally, we've got transforming functions. We've got a picture and we've got some descriptions of what's going on here. I'm going to do the first top part as the video. I'm not going to do the bottom part today. Here we've got f of the quantity x minus 3 plus 2. I know that x minus 3 is going to tell me that we're going to the right 3 units. And then plus 2 means that we're going up 2 units. That's enough in order to get credit for this. So I'll do this graph in red. We're going to go right 3, up 2. I'm going to take that point, it's going to go right 3, up 2, and take that point and go right 3, up 2. It's easiest if you do this by focusing on one point at a time. If you have to do this by hand, because that helps you really kind of figure out what's going on. So this is, for h of x, we've got negative 2 times the whole thing. So it's going to be a flip vertically. It's going to multiply the heights by 2. It's going to be a vertical stretch. I'm going to just write v, factor of 2, and then it's also going to be going left 3. Okay. The first thing I might think about is that this whole thing is going to go left 3. 1, 2, 3. And then it's going to flip over the x-axis and become twice as high. So in other words, I'm going to multiply the y-coordinate by negative 2. What used to be at positive 1 is now going to be at negative 2. That's my first point. For 0, 2, I'm going to go left 3, so 1, 2, 3. And what used to be at positive 2, I'm going to multiply it by negative 2, is now going to have a height of negative 4, which is down there. And then finally, we're going to go left 3, 1, 2, 3. We used to have a height of 0 times negative 2 is still going to be 0. And you can see that's what we have for a graph. Like you notice that this is upside down, it's twice as steep, and it's moved left 3.